In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this 3D artwork using some old sheets. So all you really need is a canvas and a piece of fabric that is big enough to wrap around the canvas. You will also going to be needing some white acrylic paint. If you have any fabric or something else at home that is broken, maybe discolored, and you're going to throw it away, then I would say make some art out of it, because that way we are being a little bit more sustainable, I guess. And it's better than buying new stuff to make art with. Lately, I've been seeing these really nice artworks on Pinterest of people that have canvases, and they make some kind of textured painting using some type of material that I don't have at home. So I thought, what can I use from what I already have at home to make something similar? So my first thought was that I can use fabric, so I asked my mom if she had something, and she had these old worn out sheets. So I cut up a piece of it and just wrapped it around this canvas, and as you can see, I tried making different folding patterns. It took me a while until I was satisfied though. As you can see, I am folding a pattern and then I'm removing it and then I'm folding something new. This actually took me a while, but I think it's very therapeutic to make abstract art because you don't really have an idea clear in your head. You're kind of just improvising something and kind of going on feelings and like, yeah, this looks kind of cool, let's do it, you know. So once you are satisfied with the pattern that you have folded, you just want to pin it up with some needles. This will just make the fabric a little bit more secure. I mean, since it's fabric that we are working with, it's still gonna want to go its own way, but the needles, they help a little bit to prevent that everything just goes away, if you know what I mean. So you still want to be careful though to try to not make the foldings go unfolded. I feel like I can't speak English in this video because I have to use terms that I'm not used to use. And by the way, if you notice that I have a lisp, it's because I've got Invisalign recently. So yeah. And then you just want to take out the needles one by one and carefully just paint on top of the folding that you made. You want to make sure to like really hold it so that it doesn't flatten out, and you probably want to be using gloves for this. It may also be easier if you dilute the paint with just a little bit of water. However, the fabric is gonna want to move, so you gotta be persistent and just hold it together and push it back into the directions you want it to go in. And this is also why it's so important to remove one needle at a time so that the fabric doesn't move too much. It can actually be the most difficult in places where you want the fabric to be completely flat, as you can see in my case, but also once you're doing this, you may find that you get new foldings that you actually kind of like. So of course you can just make some new pattern as you go along if you want to. By the way, this may look like it was more difficult to make than it actually was. Once you get the hang of it, it is very easy, and once you paint more, or like once you cover more of the canvas with the paint, it's gonna be easier. But of course it may also depend on the size of your canvas and how many foldings you have. I didn't have that many foldings, and the canvas, it's not really that big, so yeah. But if you're trying this for the first time, maybe you just want to try it on a smaller canvas, but I'm sure you could do it on a larger one. I mean, it's not really that difficult. And once you've gotten the first layer, it's just gonna be easier and easier. This doesn't take a lot of time to paint. What takes the most time is to wait for the first layer to dry, I would say. And when you're painting the first layer, you only want to paint the top of the canvas, then wait for it to dry before you go ahead and paint the sides of the canvas, because otherwise the fabric will just move too much. So once you have waited for it to dry and it's stiff like this, you can go ahead and paint a second layer if you feel like you need to, or just do it in places you feel like you need to. And then I flipped the canvas over carefully, and as tightly as I could, I tried to fold back the rest of the fabric behind the canvas frame. You may want to cut it a little bit like I'm doing here, to make it easier. And then you want to take your needles out and pin the corners, because it will just hold better. And once everything is secure, you can go ahead and paint the sides of the canvas. You may want to pull the fabric a little bit to make it less creasy, because it can be difficult to fold it super tight behind the frame. And I would suggest you to only paint 2 sides at a time. It's just way easier. So I painted 2 sides and then I let it dry before I painted the 2 remaining sides. You can also put the canvas down when you're painting the sides, of course. It may help you to gain some more control of the painting. And once I was done with that, I removed the needles from one corner, or maybe 2, I don't remember at the time, and then I glued the back of the frame, as you can see here, with just some glue that was suitable for fabric and for wood, just like a universal glue. And then I pressed the fabric as tightly as I possibly could to the frame. And in some places, obviously, since you have been working with fabric, you may have some folds that just needs to be glued down, so just go ahead and do that as well. And before you finish the painting, you just want to look through and see if there's any place that isn't covered in paint, and if so, you just want to cover it and let it dry, and then you're basically done. So if you watched this video all the way to the end, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more art tips. And if you try this, then please let me know, and I will see you in my next video.